Prophet on Thursday. Good morning and welcome to the Dailies on Echo Television International, where we will be keeping you updated with all that is happening, looking at the back and forth of the increase of salary for either the National House of Assembly or the President, amidst many other stories that are on the paper this morning. So we encourage you, wherever you are in the part of Nigeria, get a cup of coffee if it is raining, or you can get a cup of tea or water, whatever will make you feel comfortable as we take you down through the stories that are trending on the paper. I am Sada Elisha Dasham, and I'll be doing this together with Rachel Tanzi. Good morning,
Morning,
Rachel.
Sarah.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. How about you?
Fine. How was the weekend?
The weekend was okay.
Yeah, it happened that it was quite rainy throughout the
It
weekend, and
was.
then I think I saw little pictures of some places where there was flooding, and I was like, wow, in Plateau State, I mean,
Yeah.
quite a lot. The rain that didn't seem to be heavy, but I think that is not out of line because it was on the papers. I think last week or so,
Yes.
we saw the warning that there's going to be flooding. So I think this is kind of a reminder for people who are living in
Yes,
water-prone areas to actually take, cognizance of all that is happening there. And then if it means you relocate into another place where you will not get affected by the flood, please do that. We will go straight into the paper by taking the Daily Independent newspaper.
On the papers, road infrastructure, Mahila laments 14 trillion naira debt inherited from Buhari's government meets Tinubu over challenges ahead of UNGA trip. Tinubu's monthly salary less than 1.5 million naira. Statement coming from the RMAFC boss says political office holders not overpaid. The big story on the paper, aviation technical personnel exit Nigeria to other climes. The writer under the story, NCAA, NCAT, NAMA lose top staff to Japa syndrome. Less than 480 seized, 432 airports, 100 retired in 5 years. You can find more details on page 29, and so we can see that the Japa syndrome doesn't stop only at the medical field. We've said that a lot of times.
Of
I
course.
said until we have the statistics and the number, and perhaps until all these organizations or sectors start complaining, we'll never know. As long as you are a professional, I keep saying it, engineers are leaving this country. Architects are leaving this country. We have many other professions aside from doctors and nurses leaving, and now we are seeing that the aviation sector is also being affected by this Japa syndrome, and we are seeing them having just less than 480 seats, 432 airports, and if you do the division, you know that the number is not much, and we are seeing 100 retired in 5 years. It means if we are having this much number retiring, knowing very much that our airports are few as it is now, most especially the international ones, then it means that if we have 100 retiring, there's need for more recruitment, or there's need to make sure that those few that are available are not leaving the shores of the country. I just truly hope that the Nigerian government are watching this, are seeing this, and are taking drastic measures that will reduce this impact of people leaving, because as long as you are a professional and you find yourself in an environment that, first of all, you are not even having enough facility to be professional to the fullest, and then secondly, you are fighting yourself, struggling with getting basic allowance and basic and salaries and all of that, it is only normal for you to seek better working environment. And I just hope that we have the government that is on it, willing to improve every standard of work for it, not just in the medical line, but every other professional that you know. These people are important, and when they leave the shores of this country, we are going to suffer. These are the sectors you are supposed to look into and be quick about it.
At the standard of living, like generally for everybody, you know that the standard of living has drastically dropped down. And just like you said, it's not just limited to the medical sector. Initially, we kept shouting brain drain, our doctors are leaving. Now we're seeing the aviation is complaining. Believe you me, education is also going to complain, because eventually our professors are leaving the shores of Nigeria and going outside. So it's just a matter of time. You begin to see every sector will start speaking out, this is what we're going through. And I think that is just some few lessons our government need to learn from this. One is we need to look into the welfare of all of these people, that we know that we need their services regardless of what we say or do. We need their services. Secondly is to see that we have younger people being trained in the same way. It will shock you, Rachel, to know that even in the aviation industry, there are people who have not gotten the required training they are supposed to get to replace the people that are retiring. So eventually I think we need to also see that should be an eye-opener to us, that more people need to be trained in that sector so that they'll be able to do what the people that are retiring can do. And then for the people that are living, I think it's really, really very important that we look into what can we do to have these people back. We saw it, was it last week or last week, that it's not even far-fetched. They are living to African countries, not even outside Africa. So that is to tell you that their services are needed more there possibly, and then they are being paid more. So something needs to be done. Just like we're seeing RMF is saying that our president is not earning more than 1.5 million naira. Well, we can applaud him for that, or for receiving lower than that. But then we're going to talk about other allowances, Rachel. I was getting there, I'm going to talk about other allowances that come in. We're not even going to overbeat that topic, because this is something that will be going back and forth. I mean, earlier this year we saw where there was supposed to be an increase, but Nigerians cried, and then they came out and said, no, we're not increasing anything whatsoever. So regardless of what is happening, let everybody be taken along. This is the only way you can let Nigerians know that we feel your pain, and then also for the people that are living, we'll do something to make sure that we are earning from them. We saw it on Friday during sports on the Guardian paper, where they said that training Nigeria loan to the wall, and we asked quite a number of questions. If you are training Nigeria and you are alone to the world, what is Nigeria benefiting from all of these people? So that is not just limited to the sports. We're also talking about even the aviation and even the medical. Yeah, they are training Nigeria, whether we like it or not. But who is benefiting from them eventually? So this should be an eye-opener to Nigeria and our leaders on we need to do something fast and quick, or else one day we wake up to realize that you go to the hospital and meet just 2 doctors rotating. And that would not be funny at all. Right now, resident doctors are still on strike, and then we're yet to hear anything being done about that. So we're looking forward to see more proactive measures coming from our leaders to make sure we have these people back in the country.
Still on Daily Independent, averted plane crash. Engines may have been tampered with, says Governor Adele Case 8. Actor Jimmy Odukoye succeeds father as head of Fountain of Life Church. You can find more details on page 7. Serap sues Tinubu for not stopping Wike, Umahi and others' retirement pay. You can find more details on page 7. Tinubu appoints 2 more ministers. Airstrikes destroy over 30 oil refining sites in rivers. Congo denies coup attempt. You can find more details on page 6. Still on the paper, NLC planned indefinite strike may take effect Thursday. Lalong waits in, meets labor unions and others today. And at the downside of the paper, we have the Chief Justice of Nigeria to swear in 9 new appeal court justices on Wednesday. You can find more details on page 6, and that's all the news on Daily Independent.
All right, let's take a look at the leadership newspaper. Federal government and labor meet today over the planned indefinite strike. You can find on page 6. Averted air crash at Adeleke alleges sabotage as NCAA assures safety. More can be found on page 7. And looking at fact check, did Yoruba Council ask Obasanjo to apologize to Obas? This is a question. And we also have what is trending. FRSC to ensure 5% reduction in traffic deaths. You can find both stories on page 2 of the leadership newspaper. Also here at Leadership Twitter space, experts say UAE can't ignore Nigeria. You can start reading that story on the front page and continue on page 7. Congolese government denies rumor of coup attempt. We saw that on social media. So they are coming out to say that there is nothing as such, and so people should go about their normal business. You can find more of that on page 6. And the big story for the leadership is on impeachment plot. Why Aso Rock won't allow Akpabio's removal, with the rider concern over likely ripple effects in the reps and then Senate, not executive house boys. This is coming from the CSO. You can find more on page 4. One injured as two-story building collapsed in Lagos. Detail can be found inside. And then also we are having Tinubu nominate Ibrahim Olawode as youth ministers. More can be found also inside the paper. The Chief Justice of Nigeria to inaugurate 9 appeal court justice. More on page 87. We have a picture story here where we can see NDLEA intercept 5 pregnant teenage girls along Apa Owerri Expressway and uncover meth shack in the sole of the lady's high heel shoes in Lagos at the weekend. This is really sad. The rate at which people are going to actually, bring in and also take drugs out of the country. You can find detail of any of the story that is of interest to you inside the paper.
On Blueprint newspaper, investments flow to Nigerian telecom sector hit 77 billion naira in the second quarter of 2023. CGN inaugurates 9 appeal court justices on Wednesday. You can find more details on page 22. Police killed 10 suspected bandits, rescued 3 in Bauchi community. Tinubu appoints former sports minister's daughter, one other as youth ministers. The big story on the paper, why we can't increase Tinubu and minister's salary. Statement coming from RMAFC says economic reality reason for delay. President earns less than 1.5 million naira, ministers about 1 million naira. NBS underreporting inflation needs new methodology. This is coming from Professor Lolu Adefolarin, and we have data used outdated coming from Riwani. And you can find more details to why payments of president and ministers can be increased on page 6. Kano Maradi $2 billion rail project to be completed by 2025. Statement coming from the federal government. How Adeleke orders escape plane crash. Statement coming from its aide. Obasanjo's stand-up order, ex-president's wife begs Oyo monarchs. And at the downside of the paper, ahead NLC/federal government rally today. Labour says we are ready for dialogue. More details can be found on page 6, and that's all the news on Blueprint newspaper.
Alright, on Dailies newspaper we have Obi in Bangladesh says the SME key to global economic growth. You can find more on what Obi is trying to do with other nations to see how we can improve small and medium enterprises to global economic growth. More on page 13. The big story we have panic in CBN as probe expand, with the writers saying investigators beam the searchlight on top staff firms and cronies. Anxiety as anchor borrowers loan recovery deadline elapses. And then Emefiele resign in August. This is coming from sources. You can find more on page 13. RMAFC defers salaries of political office holders, put Tinubu's pay at less than 1.5 million naira monthly, and ministers below 1 million naira. Detail found on page 6. Also, we have Atiku accuses Tinubu of planning to unleash regime of propaganda. You can find that on page 6. And on demolition, Abuja traders write the AGF over police disobedience of court order. More on page 5. Actor Jimmy Odukoya succeed dad as the church overseer. We remember he lost his dad in August, and he's meant to take over on the 30th of September as the senior pastor, and then his sister as the associate. So you can do well to find more of that story on page 12. Shake up in NMPCL as 3 EVPs retire. President approved replacement. And then we have airstrike destroy over 30 illegal oil refineries in rivers. More can be found on page 13. Downside of the paper, we have 5 died, 12 injured in Lagos Ibadan highway accident. You can find more on page 5, and I think we need to do something on the number of accidents we keep recording, especially on the expressway of Lagos Ibadan. We hope the FRS are taking notice of all of this, and they will try their best to curtail that. And that is all on the Daily Sun newspaper.
On Nigerian Tribune, no university can survive without fees increment. A statement coming from the Committee of VCs. You can find more of that statement on page 30. Tinubu nominate Ibrahim Olowande as youth ministers. You can find more details on page 30. NLC agrees to meet federal government over indefinite strike. CJN to swear in 9 appeal court justices on Wednesday. You can find more details on page 21. In Mambila, we have Ogunloye replies Obasanjo says claims baseless. You can find more details on page 21. The big story on the paper, August inflation rate. Companies may resort to downsizing. LCCI wants government to remove tax on food items, urges CBN to pause inflation rate hikes. Well, the CBN have clearly stated that as long as inflation keeps going high, we are going to keep seeing an increase in the MPR. You can find more details on page 6. Osun government imposes curfew in 2 warring communities. 2 injured as building collapse in Lagos. NCAA commences probe into Adele case aborted flight accident. You can find more details on page 30. Ondo commissioner beaten injured over subsidy palliatives. Monarchs for Obasanjo over humiliation of traditional rulers. YCEO Kyogun Group demand apology. And we have a picture story showing 150 houses destroyed in Plateau flood. You can find more details on page 27, and that's all the news on Nigerian Tribune.
You know, these are houses that over and over warning have been coming.
Yes.
The fact that people need to relocate from where they are living. And if you take a look at those places, Rachel, you are very conversant with the environment in Plateau State.
Yes.
You agree with me that those houses that were affected were houses that were right by the riverside.
Yes.
Right by the river.
Yes.
Rachel, I'm talking about people who build just by the edge. So it seems as if you are sharing the walls of your house with the river. And
yes.
these are warning that kept coming. And I don't know, I just don't want to believe that these people did not get this warning that they should vacate these places. Or if they did not get it, then that means the Plateau government actually failed in one part to actually go down to these people, because these are not even places that are in the grassroots areas. We're talking about people in the middle of the city,
Yes.
in the city center, that were supposed to have gotten information to the fact that they need to vacate these places, or else they stand the likelihood of losing their homes and even their lives eventually. Well, we do not know. There is no record of anybody that have lost his life as a result of the flood. But what about the livelihood of these people eventually? They have to start looking for something else to do. And I think this is where the government needs to come in. We keep talking about going back to the master plan of how buildings are supposed to be done entirely, not just in Plateau State, but we're using Plateau State as a case study to other, other states in the country where these are the master plan on how houses are supposed to be built, where you're supposed to live, where you're not supposed to build, and all of that. But people keep, faulting it. People keep turning a deaf ear to it, and then look at what we are being faced with. So I hope this will be an eye-opener to us, because believe you me, the rain in September is even more than the rain in August. It's already raining this morning on our way coming to the office. So you will tell that, and then the rain is not the rain that is stopping anytime soon. Like, it keeps dropping and dropping and dropping. And these are the rain that actually eventually lead to flooding. Just like you said, I think was it last week or so. It's even shocking that even areas that are not even flood-prone areas, we are seeing that flooding is beginning to take over those places. So we need to really take serious cognizance of all of this. We need to be very, very careful, and then the government needs to do more sanitization on what people need to be done. Talking about taking care of our drainages, make sure that the water areas are being free of, because we know during water aids, we keep saying this, once it doesn't get a place, it definitely creates a place for itself. So the climate, I can't really blame it. I mean, there's climate change, not just in Nigeria, internationally. This has been the concern. So I hope that we take cognizance of this, call each other if it needs to be, what can be done to avert such things. And then these people that have been affected, what is going to be done next now? Because we saw last week the issue of the money being given by the First Lady, how to be given to people that have been affected either by insecurity. So we do not know what is being done for people who have been affected by the flooding. So our fingers are crossed, but we hope that this will serve as a eye-opener to us to be careful next time where we build our houses and how we go about our activities.
Stella, there are people that build their houses in waterways and didn't know, due to poor city planning by the government and then the ministries or the organizations that are in charge of surveying and designating spaces and saying you can't build here or there, didn't do their job. And then over the years, water found its way and you realize you're there, you didn't know. okay, we can blame that on the government, but for you to go and build your house, right, sharing, just as you explained it, we see these houses, they are sharing their fences with with the river, with waterways, you know it. You don't need a prophet to come and tell you this flood is going to affect you, because over the years, due to climate change, water level keep rising, and even when the rain stop, it doesn't go back to as low as it used to be. It remains higher than it is, because it's all about meters and meters and meters of land being taken over by water, and you know it. And then since last year, there's been a warning concerning flood, and if you don't need to go to school to know that, you know what, this year the water level has gone high. Before it went low, we already have the rains coming, and you are living in this kind of areas. You don't need to wait for somebody to come and tell you to evacuate, because you already know what you've signed up by building clearly directly where water is supposed to pass. And we know that this year water is going to come, and just as you said, Sele, these are not people living in the village that we can say perhaps they are not that intelligent, perhaps information is not reaching them quickly as it should. These are people that are living in our urban area. So to some extent, we won't say that information has reached everybody, but you have a better chance of getting this, yes, an advantage of getting this information quickly. So there are things that, yes, we can say that government needs to do their job. At the same time, there are things that where we need to put the fault, and let's put it and let people wake up and also do the needful, because in as much as, yes, the government have the bigger role to play concerning securing the life of people when it comes to flooding and all of that, but then you also have your role to play as an individual, especially when you are very aware of where you went and built your house or the environment you're living. You need to do something about it, because in the end, we know the system we have, there won't be compensation for you. In worst case scenario, if you lose your life, then that is a bigger loss even than the house we're talking about. So I just hope that everybody wakes up and do the needful concerning flooding in the country.
Well, we hope to see more, information reaching out there, and then this will not stop right now. You still have the opportunity to do something even before, because it's still raining. We have the opportunity to make amends. Well, let's take a look at the Daily Times newspaper. Starting with the big story on the Daily Times newspaper, where we have indefinite strike over the fuel subsidy removal. NLC leaders meet as federal government moves to avert the strike. Government calls the Labour to vital meeting today. Strike may begin this week or Monday. So you can do well to start reading when and how they hope to go about this meeting on the front page and continue inside the paper. Experts see collaboration for improved e-payment system. Identify inadequate infrastructure as greatest challenge. You can start reading inside the paper. And on the UAE visa fallout, Atiku blasts Tinubu. One of more propaganda ahead. Claims the president has 15 media spokesmen for propaganda. You can find more of the back and forth coming from the PDP presidential candidate and the president. And then the Chief Justice of Nigeria set to inaugurate 9 Justice September 20th as Ogu bows out. You can find more of that on page 5. Stormy moment in Unical Law Faculty, that's talking about University of Calabar Law Faculty. You can find more of what is happening over there. And also we have the FCTA to demolish illegal structure at the Popular Area 1 shopping complex. You can find more on page 4. Tinubu nominate new ministers for the Ministry of Youth. You can find more on page 5. We have a picture story on the front page of the paper. Do well to grab the paper and read any other story that is of interest to you.
On First News newspaper, Tinubu appoints 2 new ministers. Pigweze Okorocha and others as special advisors. The big story on the paper: averted plane crash. My close shave with dead on sabotaged flight coming from Governor Adeleke. Alleges aircraft engine were tampered with, says early internal investigation proves suspicion. NCAA NSIB begin probe, warn against sensitization in accidents. And then we have a picture story that says looming disaster. Picture shows the flyover between Jibowu by Total Fadeye BRT and Ajeleba. The portion circled red is where the bridge has broken into two, posing serious danger to motorists. The appropriate authorities, particularly Office of Infrastructure, Economic Affairs, are enjoined to urgently take steps to avert this impending disaster. Federal government invites NLC over planned nationwide strike. Appeal court gets 9 new justices, and we have a unical sex scandals. I'm sorry, minister apologizes over viral video comment. Airstrike destroyed 30 illegal oil refining sites in rivers. This is coming from the Air Force. On Bielsa Guba, Paul Deary hired spies to monitor my movement. Silva is a legend. Lagos building with over 500 rooms collapses, 2 injured. Fountain of Life Church names Pastor Odukoye's son Jimmy senior pastor. After meeting Naira Marley, my son lived in fear until he's dead. This is a statement coming from Ubat's mom. And at the downside of the paper, government denies coup claim in Congo. And that's all the news on First News newspaper.
All right, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper, where we have Umahi Woods presidency as contractors oppose concrete roads. You can find more of the story inside the paper. 12.5 kg cooking gas price may hit 18,000 naira by December. So if you have the money to stock all the cylinders in your house, do that now, even though I do not know how possible it is now that it's September down till December. You can find what will actually result to that on page 27 of the Punch newspaper. Federal government and Labour meet today on post-subsidy talks. More of that story can be found on page 7. And the big story here says marketers eye fresh fuel price hike as crude hit $94, with the rider NATO plans price hike raises concern over federal government insistence on the 617 naira per litre petrol price. Operators insist that petrol subsidy returning gradually. NNPCL gets 3 new VPs. You can find more of that story on page 2. The picture story here still on the NDLEA rescue pregnant teenagers, arrest suspected drug traffickers. You can find more of the story inside the paper. Also, we have Oyo Messi awaiting Makinde on new Alafak. This is coming from Basuru. You can find that on page 7. 2 hospitalized as 500-room Lagos building collapses. You can find that on page 4 and 5. And also we have National Assembly plan quick screening and private sector demand reforms. More of that story can be found inside the paper. And that is all on the Punch newspaper.
On New Telegraph, the first half 2023, 10 banks grew customer deposit by 31% to 11.48 trillion naira. Nigeria, Algeria account for 55% of Africa's gas reserves. You can find more details on page 8. Tinubu operating propaganda regime says Atiku averted crash. Adeleke's aide alleges sabotage. Emefiele resigned as CBN governor in August. This is a report. You can find details on page 8 and 25. Fountain of Life Church, Odukoye's actor's son emerges successor. The big story on the paper, 577 billion naira anchor borrowers outstanding payments. Security operatives move against defaulters as repayment deadline expires today. Beneficiaries protest as CBN takes steps to recover COVID-19 loans. You can find more details on page 2 and 26. Flood wreaks havoc in Ogun community. CJN to swear in 9 appeal court justices on Wednesday. And on Mohbad, police set up special team to probe cause of death. Still on New Telegraph, federal government okay, I take that story again. Now the federal government set to stop indefinite strike and invites NLC. Workers revolt looms over Auditor General imposition of FCTA Area Council. You can find more details on page 4 and 25. And on economic challenges, RMAFC to postpone political office holders' salaries review. And at the downside of the paper, we have study links, diet, regular soda to increase insulin levels. You can find more details on page 27. And that's all the news on New Telegraph newspaper.
Alright, before we continue with other paper analysis, we'd love to take a time out, let you through the stories ranging from the market is hoping to increase the price of petrol, gas also to increase its prices. We're seeing aviation sector complaining that quite a number of people are actually being affected, especially in the sector to the Japa syndrome. And then also the talk between the federal government and Labour, whether or not the strike will hold Thursday or Monday, we do not know. So we'd love to hear what your own contribution is concerning any of the story that is of interest to you. Please stay tuned with us.
Hello viewers, my name is Amaka Ocheke. We anchor the program The Living Room right here on Equa TV International.
You are welcome to watch us every Monday.
The Living Room is a very interesting family program where we discuss everything you want to know about family.
Talk about our children's mental health.
Keep watching. Our program is always here 5:30 every Monday. We want you to ask questions, we want you to phone in and drop topics that you want us to talk about, even on our media handle on Facebook. We're there. So keep watching, keep listening. The Living Room.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, the program still is the Dailies on Equa Television. We've been looking at quite a number of stories that have been ranging on the paper. If you were just tuning in, we're looking at the issue of the labor, which is on the paper, where they'll be having talks today with the federal government. Aviation sector also complaining that they have been affected by the Japa syndrome, where quite a number of people who are knowledgeable about that sector are actually leaving the shores of the country. And quite a number of stories where we are seeing NDLA getting people who are actually, getting involved with illegal drugs, and then quite a number of stories that are just on the paper this morning. We'd love you to sit tight. Call us on any of the story that you want to talk about. Do remember to turn down the volume of your TV set when you call us, and also try and summarize your point in a minute, please, so that other people can also get the room to actually also air their view. I still have Rachel Tanzi with me. Thank you so much,
You're
Rachel.
welcome, sir.
All right, and just in case you can't get us through, or you are unable to be patched through us in the studio, you can drop your comment on our Facebook and YouTube. We'll do well to also take those comments too. And let's continue with the paper analysis. I will be taking the Nation newspaper. Umahi, we inherited 6 trillion naira funding gap on 2,604 projects. You can read more of what he has to say on page 93 of the Nation newspaper. Controversy over 480 million naira Paris Club reform lingers. This is talk that has been going back for about a year or two right now, the issue of that. You can find more of that story on page 6. Federal government and NLC meet on planned strike. Also, appeal court get 9 new justices. You can find those story on page 102 and also page 6 of the Nation newspaper. $55 million. This is coming from the NLNG dividend, and we have the FAAC queries NNPCL. You can find more of the story on the front page and on page 4. Exporter lead forex supply. More of the story can be found inside the paper. Also, we have Kwara Governor Hill's nomination of Bayo Ibrahim as the new minister. You can find that on page 12. This will stall federal government. Emifele plead by gain talks with the rider. Suspended CBN governor may face trial. Why deputy governors were dropped. More of the story can be found on page 4. Nigeria to push for global tax resolution as the UNGA, and Tinubu is to speak tomorrow. And we have the picture story before the strike and also after the strike. I think this is in result to the airstrike that destroyed some illegal refineries in River State. You can do well to read more of that story. Downside of the paper, we have 5 died, 12 injured in a multiple Lagos-Ibadan highway crash. More of the story can be found inside the paper. And that is all on the Nation newspaper.
on the matrix, Nigeria, Cuba sign memorandum of understanding on food security and agricultural advancement. The big story on the paper, controversy rages over averted plane crash. Governor cries foul, reveals how plane engine was tampered with. NCAA NSIB launch probe into averted plane crash. Obasanjo's wife begged Oba's Yoruba, says, "Forgive my husband." Telkom's investment grew from $38 billion to $77 billion by the second quarter of 2023, a report coming from NCC. Labour Minister Lalong convenes meeting with NLC today. 2 hospitalized as 500-room Lagos building collapses. NDLEA denies poisoning Mohbad. You can find more details on the front page and continue inside the paper. Tinubu departs Nigeria for maiden UNGA in US. MFA resign as CBN governor, paving way for Cardoso's appointment. You can start with the details on the front page and continue inside the paper. And then we have a picture story showing food security on their minds. And that's all the news on the Matrix newspaper.
All right, let's take a look at the next paper, which is Nigerian News Direct. And on subsidy removal, federal government meet labor today over insistence on indefinite strike and palliative distribution, with the rider as Labour's 21-day ultimatum expires this week. Now, the talk that we're holding this week, Richard, what are your expectations out of these talks? Because we've been having these talks back and forth, NLC going on strike, no, we're not going on strike. We have 2-day protests. After 2 days protest, stay at home 2 days, 1 day strike, go back to work on Wednesday, and quite a number of things. And I remember where we said it seems as if TCN have actually stepped back. That's talking about the trade union. They've actually taken a step backward, and then it seems NLC seems to be the one doing all the talking. Now, I want to mesh this together with the story we saw earlier on, where we are saying that the committee of VCs are saying that schools cannot operate without an increase of tuition fee, which is an increase of school fees. Now, this is boiled down to tertiary institutions, not even the secondary schools. Now, with all of this thing, with Labour wanting to go on strike, we're having a lot of people coming out to say this will affect the economy entirely, because a lot of things will have to be shut down if eventually they really want to go on strike. And so if they're going on strike, that is aviation, because they have been calling on other bodies to join them. So that is to say aviation will be on strike. Eventually education will say they will join, because it seems as if anytime there's a little strike, students tend to be standing on one foot because they just pray and hope ASU will not remember their own problem and say they want to join and go on that strike. And then with quite a number of other places, we've even been seeing Polytechnic, College of Educations have been joining the strike, also one way or the other. Now, what is going to be different with this talk now? Because I want to believe that it's not different from what they have been talking over and over. They need for palliative, they need for increase of salary of civil servant, they need of so many things that need to be done to make sure that Nigerians are carried along, and then they don't feel the pain of the removal of the first subsidy. Now we're seeing marketers are saying the way things are looking, they cannot continue to sell petrol at 617 naira. They have to increase the price, and I think we saw they say they might likely sell it at 800 naira per litre. Now, what is going to make today's talk different from all other talks they have been having eventually?
Sally, that's just the question. That's what is ringing in my mind. Are you going to ask the federal government for something else, or is it the same thing? What dialogue are you going to have that you haven't had in the past? And the government haven't done one single thing you've asked for. So I'm just wondering, okay, we have a caller.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning.
Good morning, Celia. How are you?
We're fine, sir.
I just want to talk about the issue concerning what. Okay, let me see the Tribune of today concerning Obasanjo and the Obas. If you listen to Obasanjo's side, Obasanjo is right. Obasanjo is right. Let me tell you, it is in the protocol. This protocol is on ground. If a governor is coming in, the Obas, the monarch, they must stand up. Local governments, chairman is the head of the local government, governor is the head of the state, president is the head of the whole nation. Can they do that during the Ajumobi time? Can they do that? Nobody can do that for Ajumobi. They saw their governor coming and every one of them was on the seat. And Obasanjo tried to correct them. But now everybody is lashing Obasanjo. So now Obasanjo tried to tell them the truth. Obasanjo is right. What he said is a protocol on ground before they came in. Before Obasanjo even became a president. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I just hope that they do get to understand his point of view, and it has been a protocol because whether we like it, even if you're a first class chief, for example, there's still funding coming from the government down to you. You are still within a state. You still have a jurisdiction. You are not a chief for the entire country. It is for a certain particular area and region of people, and you're still under a government. So I just hope that they come to an agreement and an understanding, and then whatever is the feud, it should be settled well with understanding. Yes,
before the call, you actually...
Okay. Thank you very much. Good morning, all of you in the studio. I want to contribute on the COVID-19 palliative, which they said the federal government now is going after people who collected all these grants and COVID-19. I am so happy. Yes, this Marshall wife gave a lot of it to his brothers, houses. Yes, let them catch them because they'll be unable to pay. Wallahi, let them go after them critically because I Baba Muba. Let them go after them online. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, let the reason going after them not be for sentiment, but because there is a need to go after them for whosoever had access to these loans and are supposed to give back or didn't do what they said they will. And now the federal government is saying, we are coming after you. Let it not be because that some people benefited more, but that it's because it's what is expected to be done concerning the palliative grants and loan. So just as I was saying, for labor, you've been extending time to the federal government, and the question is, are you going to talk about something new, or is the same old thing that the government is yet to do one thing that you have asked of them? And for me, that's just the major because what I'm not even expecting anything.
I want to contribute to their discussion on the television. I saw their numbers display on the television. I don't know if it's a private number. Is it a private number?
No, you are on Echo Television, sir. Go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, that linked me to the television. We are talking about the Obas versus Obasanjo.
Yes, please go on. We can hear you.
As a matter of fact, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Can you reduce the volume of your TV set, or if you can't hear, maybe you end the call and call us back again?
The truth, respect are given to those who deserve respect. When the governors goes to any Oba's palace, on a courtesy visit, they kneel down and greet the Oba.
Alright, yes. Yeah. Exactly. Okay, yes. Still talking about the Obas, but we can't really get what he's saying. So yes, concerning that, what I'm looking forward is action. The more NLC keeps telling the government, we are going on strike. Oh, it says you don't want to go on strike. It's almost like the NLC is enjoying the dialogue. And then you begin to wonder why. Rather than taking actions, you're not doing anything about it. If the federal government have refused to listen to you, you make them listen to you. What is the dialogue? Are you still going to roll out new plans? Are you going to talk about something else other than what you've been talking about? Palliatives are not out there. Minimum wage is not being increased. Nothing is being done concerning reducing the hardship of Nigerians so far. Even the grains, the metric tons of promises of grains from the president, we are yet to see even half of those tons out there. All these things, and you still want to dialogue. What do you want to talk about that you haven't talked about for over 10 weeks now? We're talking about 12 weeks now. What haven't you talked about? It's about time that the government acts. It's not for dialogue. It feels like you're just giving them more and more grace, and then it raises questions. Are the NLC really out there to help Nigerians, or what are they really trying to achieve from all of this? Because it's all about action. You're there to take action. If the government don't listen to you, you're to make them listen to you. And I'm not seeing the NLC doing anything so far to make the government listen to them. And that is what Nigerians want. Make the government listen to you. That is why you're a body. You're not supposed to pamper the government, because if you pamper them, then the needs of the citizens will not be met. So what is your responsibility? To make the government listen to you and do the needful. And the needful is reducing the hardship on Nigeria. And that's just the dialogue. Let them begin to act, because what are you going to sit with them and talk about when they haven't done even one thing that you have requested for? And these are all important things, looking at the situation of Nigeria since the removal of subsidy. So I just hope the NLC proves that they really want the best for Nigerians, because I don't know what this dialogue is all about. We need action, not dialogue.
Richard, there are just some few things for me from all of this back and forth coming from the NLC. And personally, if you ask for my opinion about this, is there a better way to address things or to get the attention of the government rather than always going on strike? I think it's the same thing I've said when we're talking about the issue of ASU and the government. Whenever a request is not, or not even just ASU, even any sector, the moment the government is unable to meet its demand, the first thing or the first step is either to give an ultimatum. After that, we see a strike. Is there no better way to get the government to address this? Because from the little years I have lived in Nigeria, Richard, and then from the way I see things, oftentimes when we see something being done differently, it's not because NLC spoke. It's because Nigerians came out and expressed their grievance about something that is happening, and then we see it change it. You remember the hashtag NSAS? It wasn't NLC that came out to say we had a lot of police brutality. Even though till date we still have it, but it reduced drastically, and that was what got the attention of the entire world when the government were unable to address that. And because of that hashtag NSAS, may God bless the soul of those people who had to give their lives eventually so that the government will actually hear the plight of Nigeria. Now, I'm looking forward to a government that you don't have to wait for a sector to come out and let you know that this is the demand. Don't you have agency that monitor all of this thing? If you say money was being disbursed for a particular work, why don't we see an auditing being done? Okay, so someone was supposed to be sent to states for palliative. How many states have gotten? How many states have shared? I'm very happy where I saw the likes of Kano State that actually took, measures, sanction on a particular commissioner. That money came down to your department, and you are supposed to give it to the people of Kano State, and we didn't see that happening. We saw the quick action coming from the governor of that state, or saying the fact that you didn't do this, and so this is the precaution for you not doing this. So I'm hoping to say better. Just like you said, it seems as if NLC is a broken record. Today you are going on strike, tomorrow no, you are not going on strike. It's not the joy of any Nigeria that they shut down the entire economy. Just like I said, it will cost us money. But can't we just address this issue once and for all, know that we're done with it? What is the way forward right now? What needs to be done, rather than back and forth? Today you're having a meeting, and then, believe you me, most times this meeting always end in deadlock, because what the government says is not what NLC want, and then they work out on them, and then we'll see tomorrow or before Thursday NLC is going on strike. So this is not what we want. It's really sending a back signal to other nations about us. So I look forward to a more better way, a government that flows smoothly without us having back and forth about strike eventually. So we're keeping our fingers crossed. The meeting is holding today. We don't know what they will be talking about, whether it's the same thing or a new thing they will be talking about. But we hope that this meeting will bring out solutions at the end of the day. Not a meeting where we'll see that give us 2 weeks, give us 3 weeks, give us another week. It's already 21 days. So we hope to see something better coming out of this back and forth coming from government in-house.
Well, Sele, there's already a solution. I believe the government are just refusing to roll it out. And then concerning us resulting to strike, Sele, is until we have a government that listen, I think is the NLC or any other organization going through the means that the government will listen to them. Why I'm saying so is that when I see other world leaders, world government and administration, the moment a particular group of people go out to protest, the protest lasts 1, 2, 3 days and the government acts upon it. But we have a Nigerian government that you will protest and protest and protest and they won't act about it. It's at that point that you listen to your people. It's at that point that 2 million people are out working and saying we don't need this. It's at that point where every state will come out and say we don't want this, we don't want this, we don't want this. It's at that point you listen, Sele. But we've had a government over years that have refused to listen. No matter the massive protests, no matter the millions of voices saying put an end to this, they refuse to put an end to it. Then what do you expect? Then we go to the next step. But imagine if the government intercept in the first step, then there won't be no need for the second step. So imagine these weeks and weeks and weeks of dialogue. If the government was to step in, I believe the NLC will have no ground whatsoever to threaten the government with strike, because there will be no need for plan B, because plan A have already worked, which is a protest and dialogue. But we're having a government that refused to listen. So whether you like it or not, you have to exhaust all of your plan. If plan B doesn't work, you have to move to plan C. If plan C doesn't work, the following plan keeps until they listen. So I just hope that the government listening is a two-way thing, Sele. If an organization comes out, they are putting out their voice, then the government should listen, and then we grow as a country. But when you say you are also stubborn, there's just so much ripple effect to all of the things that happen in Nigeria. And I just hope that we fix our system, that it works the way it should.
I think I'll really take that, fixing our system. Well, let me quickly round up of the Nigerian news direct, where we're seeing coming from Lagos State, good governance, Lagos hold retreat for commissioners and permanent secretaries. I hope to see other states doing the same thing, so that we don't have the same repeat of the way things are crumbling down in various states. Serap dragged Tinubu to court over collection of retirement benefit by ex-governors serving in the cabinet. You can find that on page 3. REA to deploy Naseni renewable technologies to light up rural areas in Nigeria. And also we have DMO report Nigeria's debt service climbed to 2.34 trillion naira within 6 months. You can find more of that on page 14. We have quite a number of stories we've seen in other papers, so you can do well to grab any of this paper that is of interest to you and read more detailed stories that are of interest to you. And that's how far we can go on the program this morning. Thank you so much,
You're
Rachel.
welcome, Sarah.
All right, and thank you to our viewers. Thank you to our callers to call in on the show to contribute in one way or the other. We are truly grateful for your insight, contribution. Thank you to the crew members. Thank you to our producer and every other person who have been supporting Echo Television International. Thank you so much. Until we come here again, please do have a blessed week ahead.